But things took a shocking turn when the cops came and dragged him away. Now word is, he's been banned from performing in Louisiana to start screaming in unison. This ain't just another concert, fam. This is straight up a homecoming for one of—
After NBA YoungBoy's concert in New Orleans, things went from lit to straight up wild in a heartbeat. Fans flooded the streets screaming his name, trying to get close, when out of nowhere, a cop swooped in and dragged him away right in front of everyone. Now, word on the block is that he's been banned from performing in Louisiana. So what really went down that night, and how did it spiral so fast? Let's dig in because this one's messy. The night New Orleans lost its mind, October 19th, 2025. The Smoothie King Center was a war zone of energy, packed wall to wall with fans losing it for NBA YoungBoy's first show in Louisiana after 7 whole years. Every seat was filled and the air was buzzing like a live wire. You could feel it in your chest when those green lights, his signature never broke again color, flooded the arena, symbolizing loyalty and survival through all the chaos he's been through. This wasn't just a concert, this was a homecoming celebration for one of the most controversial, unstoppable artists in the game right now. But don't get it twisted, there was more brewing beneath the surface. This New Orleans stop wasn't just another random gig, it was part of his massive MASA tour, Make America Slime Again. Yeah, you heard that right. A 45-date nationwide arena run that kicked off in Dallas back in September 2025 and was supposed to wrap up in Seattle come mid-November. And we're talking serious production. Lights, flames, LED walls, and enough bass to rattle the roof clean off the place. He wasn't alone either. Heavy hitters like Offset, Tusi, and No Cap were tearing the stage apart right alongside him. The visuals looked like a movie scene. Fire bursts, laser lights, and camera drones catching every move. The crowd was in full meltdown mode, spitting every lyric word for word from YoungBoy's crazy catalog of 26+ albums and mixtapes. This man's consistency is legendary, dropping hits like he breathes music. But hold up, here's where it gets real intense. The New Orleans Police Department wasn't playing any games with security. They rolled up deep, over 400 officers on deck. Yeah, you heard that right, 400. Tactical units locked in position, armored vehicles parked up near the venue, and surveillance drones circling overhead like hawks. The entire French Quarter and Central Business District were crawling with cops. It looked less like a concert and more like a presidential visit. Why all that heavy security though? Simple. YoungBoy's tour had already been wild. Other cities had seen drama, fights, and even cancellations. New Orleans wasn't about to let their city turn into the next viral headline or news disaster. They were determined to keep things peaceful, or at least try to. The venue even dropped a no-bag policy to avoid any extra risks. No purses, no backpacks, nothing. Just you, your phone, and your ticket. NOPD Assistant Superintendent Hans Ganthier even went public, warning fans to leave the guns at home and not stash anything in their cars that could tempt a break-in. The message was clear. They were not here for the nonsense. Every precaution was in play, and for most of the night, it actually worked. Inside the arena, the energy was unreal. YoungBoy was on fire, performing hit after hit, pouring out emotion, pain, and raw street wisdom that had the whole building singing like a choir. The visuals were next level too. Dancers in military fatigues, cinematic coffin-style entrances, pyros lighting up the stage. It was chaos in the best way possible. Fans were locked in, shouting every lyric from the top of their lungs. It felt like a victory lap, a moment of redemption, a man who's been through hell and back standing tall in his city again. But little did anyone know, once the lights dimmed and the crowd poured into the streets, the night was far from over. What came next would turn celebration into shock and leave the whole city talking. Now think about this for a second. You've got one of the most recognizable faces in hip-hop, fresh off a sold-out arena show. Thousands of fans still buzzing, adrenaline pumping, roaming the streets of New Orleans in the early morning hours. What do you think is about to happen next? The city was already on edge, and NBA YoungBoy walking through Canal Street, that was like throwing gasoline on a fire. Videos started popping up online showing YoungBoy dressed low-key in a black jacket, black shades, and a casual fit strolling through Canal Street like a king in his own city. At first, the vibe was chill. Just a few fans spotting him, running up for quick flicks, shouting, "We love you, YoungBoy." You could hear the excitement in their voices. It was one of those rare moments where a megastar felt real, just out there vibing, enjoying life, soaking in the love after tearing up the stage hours before. But this is 2025. One person posts, 10 reposts, and boom, Within minutes, the whole block knew. What started as a couple of fans turned into hundreds flooding the area, spilling out onto Bourbon Street. It went from a casual hangout to full-blown madness in no time. The crowd swelled like a wave. People pushing, shouting, trying to get closer, phones flashing everywhere. Everyone wanted that one perfect selfie, that one viral clip. Before long, it wasn't just excitement, it was chaos. Bodies pressed together, movement slowing down, and people tripping over each other trying to reach him. What started as a sweet moment quickly morphed into something dangerous. Too many people, too much energy, and not enough space. The air got thick, the noise got wild, and the tension snapped like a rubber band. That's when the NOPD made their move, and they didn't hesitate for a second. Officers who'd been stationed in the area for the concert jumped straight into action. Multiple videos, from surveillance cams, Project NOLA, and countless fan phones captured the whole thing going down in real time. In one viral clip that's still circulating, you can see about 4 or 5 officers physically grabbing YoungBoy by the arms, shoulders, and torso, lifting him back through the crowd while the fans went absolutely crazy. People were screaming his name, yelling, "Let him go!" Phones were everywhere, recording every second of it. The scene looked unreal. Flashing lights, cops pushing through a sea of fans, and YoungBoy right in the middle, getting pulled away from his own supporters. Now, what's wild about the clip is YoungBoy's reaction. He wasn't swinging or fighting back, but you could tell he didn't want to leave. He looked frustrated, almost hurt, like he wanted to stay and vibe with his people. This was his city, his night, and he was being snatched right out of it. The tension on his face said everything. It wasn't fear, it was disbelief. The whole extraction lasted just a few minutes, but it felt like forever. The police managed to get him into a nearby SUV without drawing weapons or using harsh tactics, just enough force to move him safely through the chaos. No one got hurt, no one got arrested, just a quick professional sweep to shut down what could have turned dangerous in seconds. Later that morning, the NOPD dropped an official statement making it crystal clear there was no criminal activity involved. No charges, no beef, no drama. They said it was purely a crowd control measure meant to protect both the artist and the fans. Basically, they were just trying to stop a street party from turning into a stampede. From the moment that first group of fans spotted him to the moment his car pulled off, the entire thing lasted less than 10 minutes. But those 10 minutes said everything about NBA YoungBoy's bond with his fans. The connection is raw, real, and powerful. New Orleans showed up for him like no other city could, and even after all that madness, nothing stopped his momentum. His second show at the Smoothie King Center the very next night on October 20th still went down, and it was another sold-out riot of energy and loyalty. The MASA Tour, short for Make America Slime Again, marked NBA YoungBoy's first ever full-blown headlining arena takeover, and it was nothing short of historic. A 45-date coast-to-coast run produced by Live Nation alongside his Never Broke Again label. This wasn't just a tour, it was a movement. Massive arenas, screaming fans, and energy so loud it could shake concrete. Tickets were flying off the shelves, $50 for the nosebleeds, all the way up to a wild $500 plus for those VIP seats that came with exclusive merch, backstage perks, and front row views of chaos and greatness colliding live on stage. This tour wasn't just big, it was record-breaking. Millions in revenue were rolling in, and every stop proved how untouchable YoungBoy's pull really was. But behind all those flashing lights, sold-out crowds, and dollar signs, there was a darker side to the spectacle. A trail of security disasters, wild altercations, and venue breakdowns so unbelievable you'd have to see them with your own eyes. Every city had its own drama. It was like each stop came with a headline waiting to explode. Things started heating up immediately. The chaos kicked off just 9 days after opening night in Dallas on September 1st, 2025. During the second show at the Crypto.com Arena in Los Angeles, things spiraled out of control when a massive brawl erupted mid-performance. Right as YoungBoy launched into his emotional hit, Lonely Child, the crowd energy flipped. Thousands were screaming, lights flashing, and suddenly, boom! Fists started flying. Videos from that packed 20,000-seat venue show total mayhem. Fans pushing, throwing punches, people falling over rows of seats while security sprinted from every direction trying to break it up. It wasn't just a scuffle, it looked like a mosh pit gone rogue. The fight spread across multiple sections, forcing the show to pause for several minutes while guards restored order. Surprisingly, no arrests came out of that madness, and once things cooled off, YoungBoy jumped right back on stage like nothing happened. But that moment, it set the tone for the rest of the tour. Unpredictable, high energy, and dangerous enough to make promoters sweat bullets. Then came the next shocker, September 21st, 2025, at the T-Mobile Center in Kansas City, Missouri. What went down that night had everyone talking, and not in a good way. A disturbing video hit social media showing a violent confrontation between a young fan and an elderly arena worker. Something nobody could believe was real at first. In the viral clip, a 14-year-old boy allegedly attacked a 66-year-old usher. Yeah, you heard that right. A teenager putting hands and feet on an elderly staff member. The footage showed punches, kicks, and chaos while onlookers screamed for help. The clip exploded online, racking up millions of views within hours and sparking outrage across fan communities and local news outlets. The venue's VP of Sales and Marketing, Shawnee Ross, released a statement confirming that multiple staff members were hurt during the incident, needing first aid on site before being rushed to the hospital for further treatment. The 14-year-old was detained that same night, and the case was handed to prosecutors. This wasn't just teenage recklessness, it was a full-on assault that sent shockwaves through the tour. That one incident lit up questions all across the industry about crowd control, age limits, and the kind of volatile energy that sometimes follows YoungBoy's shows. His concerts draw passion like few others, but that same intensity can flip into mayhem at any second. Still, those fights weren't even the worst of it, because what came next made headlines around the world. Entire shows started getting canceled, and not because of poor ticket sales. These were real safety shutdowns tied to one of the most dangerous rap rivalries still brewing in the game, NBA YoungBoy versus Lil Durk. See, this beef ain't just for social media likes or bar-for-bar disses. It's rooted in real street history. The tension traces all the way back to the 2020 death of King Von, a tragedy that sent shockwaves through both camps and the whole rap scene. Since then, both artists' crews have been caught in a cycle of back and forth, disses, and alleged real-world violence. That's why, on September 24th, 2025, Chicago's United Center, one of the biggest arenas in America, pulled the plug on YoungBoy's concert just one day before it was supposed to happen. Imagine that, a sold-out show suddenly axed overnight. The venue dropped an official statement saying they couldn't guarantee public safety after receiving intelligence about possible violent threats linked to the ongoing beef. Think about that for a second. A major U.S. arena admitting they couldn't keep people safe. That's not something venues say lightly. It proved just how serious the tension surrounding this tour had become. For Live Nation, for fans, and for YoungBoy himself, it was a chilling reminder that the music might be entertainment. But the streets that inspired it? Those consequences are still very, very real. By the time the tour hit October 13th at the Colonial Life Arena, things were reaching a boiling point. In the middle of his set, NBA YoungBoy had to stop the entire show after someone in the crowd kept throwing stuff on stage, maybe bottles, maybe clothes, whatever it was, he wasn't having it. You could hear the irritation in his voice as he snatched the mic and called it out right then and there. "This a YoungBoy show, don't play with me tonight." The whole crowd froze. The tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. Security moved in fast, pulled the troublemaker out, and after a long 5-minute pause where fans held their breath, the concert started back up. But moments like that say a lot. That raw, unpredictable energy that follows YoungBoy everywhere. He commands the crowd like a general in a war zone. 1 second pure love, the next total chaos. It's part of what makes his shows magnetic, but also dangerous. Then came Atlanta, October 15th, 2025. And this one almost blew up completely. At State Farm Arena, right before the show even started, a wild confrontation broke out near the VIP entrance involving YoungBoy's entourage, some of his celebrity guests, including streamer Aiden Ross, plus security and local police. Word is there was confusion over passes and access, and things got heated fast. Voices were raised, shoving started, and cameras were already rolling. In one clip that went viral, you can see officers literally blocking the entrance, telling people to step back while YoungBoy's crew looked ready to throw down. For a few tense minutes, it looked like the show might be scrapped altogether. Thankfully, cooler heads finally stepped in, tempers cooled off, and the concert went ahead. But the damage was already done. The fallout from that backstage chaos lingered like smoke in the air. Just 2 days later, on October 17th, the repercussions hit hard. The next Atlanta date was fully canceled. Officials cited unresolved safety concerns and increased security risks, but everyone knew what that really meant. The situation behind the scenes had gotten too hot to handle, and it didn't stop there. Throughout the entire tour, smaller but non-stop clashes painted a picture of how explosive these crowds could get. Multiple shows saw fights breaking out mid-performance. Viral clips from arenas across the country show people swinging in the pit sections while YoungBoy's hardest tracks blasted in the background. Security had to rush in over and over, tackling people down just to keep things from spiraling. Some fans got so hyped, they literally stormed the lower sections, sprinting down from upper levels, jumping barriers and stealing seats just to be closer to the stage. Security was overwhelmed. There are videos showing whole groups picking up chairs, moving them, and creating their own VIP areas like it was a street takeover inside the arena. It was chaos. But for YoungBoy's fans, it was devotion on another level. And let's not forget the ongoing tension that followed him everywhere. That long-standing beef with Lil Durk added a layer of real danger to every city he touched. The energy was volatile. At shows in Newark and across New Jersey, fans who even mentioned Durk's name found themselves in trouble fast. One viral video shows a fan yelling "Free Durk" in the middle of the crowd. Seconds later, several of YoungBoy's supporters and people from his entourage jumped in, confronting the person head-on. The situation exploded into a quick, violent scuffle before security managed to break it up. It only lasted a moment, but it sent chills through the audience, and that's how real the tension was. Nobody wanted to get caught in the crossfire of that rivalry. Because of all this, venues and police departments had to go to extremes just to keep these shows under control. We're talking metal detectors at every single entrance, full body scans, deep bag checks even though bags were supposedly banned, and massive police presence inside and outside every arena. In some cities, especially New Orleans, we're talking hundreds of cops blanketing entire neighborhoods just to prevent another outbreak of chaos, and the stakes were high. Each stop on this tour was worth millions. Between ticket sales, merch, concessions, and parking, there was way too much money on the line for promoters to back out easily. That's why Live Nation and Never Broke Again kept pushing forward, rescheduling canceled dates, paying off extra security costs, and doing whatever it took to keep the machine running. By mid-October 2025, despite the fights, the cancellations, and the constant police drama, YoungBoy had already performed in over 30 cities. The craziest part, he was learning to adapt. Fans started noticing him pausing mid-show to stop fights himself, calling for peace, even preaching unity between songs. He was trying to grow in real time, keeping that fire and authenticity that built him while proving he could control it too. He never watered it down. The high production value, the pyros, the lights, the madness, it all stayed. But beneath all the smoke and flashing lights, there's something deeper pulling people in. Because to really understand why NBA YoungBoy's tour feels like a mix between a movement and a riot, you've got to understand the man himself, the journey he survived, and why the world can't stop watching what he does next. While on house arrest in Utah, reports swirled that he was allegedly running a prescription drug fraud operation out of his home, turning his confinement into another headline circus. Yet somehow he still dropped music, still charted, and still grew his empire. Then in March 2025, he was transferred to a halfway house for early release. But the real shocker came 2 months later when Donald Trump issued a presidential pardon, clearing his record completely and freeing him to tour again. Critics called it political favoritism and unearned mercy, while people from the street saw it differently. They called it justice, finally catching up for a black artist who'd been targeted and boxed in for years. To his fans, it wasn't just redemption, it was validation. And that's the crazy part. Every single arrest, scandal, or headline somehow adds fuel to his legend instead of killing it. Fans don't see those charges as flaws. They see them as proof that YoungBoy lives what he raps. His pain, his trauma, his regret, it's all in the music. When he spits bars about talking to God while the devil whispers in his ear, or when he raps about violence tearing apart his family, it doesn't sound like entertainment. It sounds like confession. That's why people connect. His concerts hit different. They're not just shows, they're therapy sessions for the streets. You'll see grown men crying, kids screaming every lyric like it's scripture, and women singing every bar word for word like they lived it too. It's more than music, it's movement, raw emotion, and survival wrapped in bass and pain. As of October 2025, with the MASA tour more than halfway done and streams shooting up 30% after that New Orleans chaos, NBA YoungBoy's dominance is undeniable. He's not just performing, he's shaping culture. He's influencing how a whole generation talks about loyalty, struggle, and self-worth. He's creating a subculture that's part music, part mindset, and part family for kids who see themselves reflected in his fight. Whether you see him as a victim of a system stacked against him or a man haunted by his own choices, one thing's for sure, NBA YoungBoy's impact runs deep. He's rewriting the definition of resilience, and his story is far from over. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit that like, subscribe, and tap one of the videos on your screen right now for more wild stories just like this one.